The United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord. We're getting out. I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris.
Wow, that did it. The left immediately became hysterical, even more than usual. Keep in mind that this was a non-binding, unenforceable agreement whose effects, even if every nation involved followed the agreement to the letter, cannot be known with any precision. It doesn't matter. The world just ended, literally, as they say. Billionaire Democratic donor Tom Steyer described Trump's decision as, quote, assault and battery on the future of the American people. CNN warned its viewers to expect mass extinctions, flooding in the streets of New York City, the physical annihilation of the Marshall Islands. The ACLU, meanwhile, somehow concluded that leaving the agreement was, and this is a quote, a massive step back for racial justice and an assault on communities of color. Didn't explain how. And then there was cable news. My gosh, the long faces, the grave intonations, the florid and outraged proclamations. It was like somebody died, millions of them actually.
On a sunny day in the Rose Garden, what could be defined and construed as a dark speech.
This will be the day that the United States resigned as the leader of the free world.
I have such rage and sadness. We just watched a dangerous little man give a very, very scary speech.
One of the most bleak depictions of America's role in the world as environmental partners.
So he is not helping the forgotten American. He is hurting them. Their kids will have worse asthma in the summer. The president who talked about putting America first has now put America last.
Well, we're no longer obviously talking about science here. What you're watching is a priesthood defending its faith. The essence of science, meanwhile, is skepticism that's relentlessly testing what you think you know to make certain you actually know it. People who ran the space program didn't know everything, and they knew it. That's not happening here. It's not allowed. Press for explanations as to what they're talking about, and you're attacked as immoral, a denier. The matter is settled. Every word immutable and holy. Questions equal apostasy. Shut up and believe. The irony is that almost none of the religious figures you saw sermonizing on television today actually know much about the Paris Agreement beyond the bullet points they've been handed by their producers 10 minutes before. What's in it? Do they have any idea? And if so, why haven't they told us till now? Before today, most of the people you just saw spent far more time yammering about Clockboy and transgender bathrooms than about climate accords. So what is in the agreement? Well, there are a lot of things in the agreement, and a few of them are worth knowing. First, if the U.S. were to stick with this accord, we'd be pledging to cut our greenhouse gas production by at least 26% below the levels it was in 2005. That's a big reduction, and it's not expected of China, India, or other huge polluting countries who, by the way, happen to be our chief economic rivals. Under the Paris Agreement, rich nations like the United States agree to send $100 billion to poorer countries every year starting in 2020 to aid with their transition to green energy. President Obama pledged $3 billion to this fund. China, meanwhile, has not pledged a cent, the world's biggest polluter. In fact, China is likely to receive some of this money. Keep in mind the Chinese economy is predicted to overtake our economy in less than a year from right now, but somehow we ought to subsidize their energy production? That is lunacy. It's masochism. We've already guessed how we're supposed to pay for all of this, higher energy costs here. Americans would pay more for gas, more for electricity, more in taxes, all in the name of meeting obligations that other countries don't have to meet. If you want to know how all of this might end, look across the Atlantic. European electricity, and some people actually care what it costs, there it costs 3 times as much as it does here, and the prices are rising faster there as well. Despite all of this, even supporters of the agreement concede, the ones who actually know what's in it, there aren't many, that it won't come close to stopping global warming even if everyone abided by the terms. Now, there are counter-arguments to this, of course, in favor of the treaty. There always are, and some of them are legitimate. That's the point. This is a debate. It's a big deal. A lot is at stake for Americans who, by and large, know nothing of the details. Shouldn't Congress have a chance to debate this and vote on it like they're supposed to? Actually, they already had that chance. It came in 2009. President Obama had a Democratic House and a Senate supermajority that year. The people now telling you that global warming is an existential threat to the world, that everyone will die if we don't get a handle on it, had more power at that moment than at any time since the New Deal in the 30s. And they could have done something about global warming, openly and democratically. Did they? No. They focused on passing the stimulus package, Obamacare, Dodd-Frank. Well, since that year, American voters have consistently elected majorities for whom global warming is not a priority. because outside of affluent pockets and a relatively small number of zip codes, global warming itself is not a top priority for the American public, not even close. Maybe it should be, but it's not. And that's how democracy works. The public gets to decide what is most important. Now, the people in charge disagree with it. They don't care what voters think. They lost interest in democracy a long time ago, and they're no longer hiding that fact. They don't believe you should be consulted before they change your life forever, and mostly they don't bother to consult you. Except today, for once they didn't get their way, and of course they're hysterical about it. Maybe now they'll have to make a real argument on behalf of what they believe before imposing it by force on you.